My controlling girlfriend cheats on me to make me jealous. She records it all and sends it to me in order for me to realize how much I love her. I'm a 28-year-old guy and I'm at a bit of a turning point in my relationship. I could really use some fresh insights on my situation. I've been living with my girlfriend Leslie, who's also 28, for the last 2 years, and now I'm grappling with a big decision about whether to take the plunge and marry her. To give you some context, Leslie and I go way back to our school days. We were classmates all through high school, but honestly, we couldn't stand each other back then. Our time together was filled with constant bickering and competition. We fought over everything, from group projects to who got to use the last piece of chalk. I thought she was way too bossy, and she probably saw me as a lazy troublemaker. One memory that stands out is from 10th grade when we were teamed up for a science fair project. It should have been a straightforward task, but with us, it was anything but. I wanted to focus on renewable energy solar panels, wind turbines, you name it. But Leslie was adamant about doing a project on genetics. We went back and forth for days, neither of us willing to give in. Our arguments got so heated that our teacher, Mr. Thompson, had to intervene. He ended up splitting us up and assigning us to different partners. I teamed up with Mike, a quiet guy who was totally on board with my renewable energy idea, while Leslie got paired with Sarah, the brainiac of the class. That project pretty much captured the essence of our relationship throughout high school. We were like oil and water, always clashing. In class debates, we'd find ourselves on opposite sides, turning even the simplest topics into fiery arguments. Our classmates quickly learned to keep us apart during group activities to prevent a full-blown war. Something shifted during our senior year. Maybe it was the pressure of college applications or the fact that we were about to go our own ways, but our perspectives on each other changed. I started noticing things about Leslie that I had never really paid attention to before. For instance, her commitment to her studies was impressive, she often stayed late to tutor younger students. And she was fiercely protective of her friends, always ready to stand up to anyone who tried to bully them. I remember this one time when our school newspaper ran an article criticizing the student council, which Leslie was part of. Instead of getting defensive, she took the initiative to set up a forum where students could share their thoughts directly with the council. I was really struck by how maturely she handled the whole situation. Leslie's sharp sense of humor, which I used to find annoying, started to crack me up. I began to look forward to our playful banter, enjoying the challenge of keeping up with her quick wit. I couldn't help but admire her determination. When Leslie decided to do something, she went for it wholeheartedly. The big moment came during our school's winter formal. I almost skipped it since dances weren't really my scene. But my best friend insisted I had to go to our last winter formal. I remember standing awkwardly by the punch bowl when Leslie walked in. She looked stunning in a blue dress that highlighted her eyes, and her usually wild curls were styled beautifully. For the first time, I saw her as more than just my annoying classmate. She was gorgeous and exuded confidence, and suddenly, I couldn't take my eyes off her. To my surprise, Leslie came over to me. We kicked things off with some light chatter about the cheesy decorations and the awful DJ, but before long, we dove into a deeper conversation about our college dreams and the anxieties we had about what lay ahead. We ended up talking for hours that night, realizing we had way more in common than we thought. Yet, even with that spark between us, neither of us could muster the guts to confess our feelings. The timing felt all off, especially with graduation around the corner and our lives about to take different paths. After we tossed our caps, we headed to different states for college. I went to California to study engineering at Stanford, while Leslie set off for New York to chase a business degree at NYU. We drifted apart over the years, both caught up in our new adventures. I focused on my studies, joined the robotics club, and even landed an internship at a tech startup in Silicon Valley. From what I could gather on social media, Leslie was doing great too. She joined the debate team, studied abroad in London, and scored some impressive internships. Fast forward to 3 years ago when our high school planned a 10-year reunion. I wasn't really keen on going, I had a big work project due, and the idea of making small talk with people I hadn't seen in ages didn't excite me. But my mom, who still lived in our hometown, insisted it would be nice to reconnect with old friends. So, somewhat reluctantly, I booked a flight back home. As soon as I stepped into the gym, decked out in our old school colors, nostalgia hit me hard. I saw familiar faces, some looked just the same, while others were almost unrecognizable. While I was catching up with my old lab partner, I spotted her Leslie. Time had treated her well, she had blossomed into a stunning confident woman. Her long brown hair was now styled in a chic bob, and she carried herself with a poise I had never noticed before. She was cracking up at something someone said, and her laughter echoed through the room, pulling me in like a magnet. Before I even realized it, I was making my way over to her. As I got closer, she turned to face me, and for a brief moment, we just locked eyes. Then, her face lit up with a big smile, and it felt like no time had passed at all. We spent the whole evening catching up. Leslie filled me in on her job at a marketing firm in the city, her eyes sparkling as she talked about the campaign she was involved in. I shared my experiences as a software developer, the ups and downs of working in Silicon Valley. We reminisced about our old rivalry, amazed at how our perspectives had changed. As the night went on, I realized I didn't want it to end. The old tension between us had shifted into something thrilling and new. When Leslie suggested grabbing coffee the next day before I headed back to California, I jumped at the chance. That coffee turned into a long stroll in the park, which led to dinner, and before we knew it, we had missed our flights home. The next few days were spent rediscovering our hometown and each other. By the time we said our goodbyes at the airport, we had decided to give a long-distance relationship a shot. The following year was a whirlwind of weekend visits, lengthy phone calls, and planning our next get-together. We took turns visiting each other, exploring our new city side by side. I loved Leslie's adventurous nature. She was always ready to try new restaurants or check out quirky art galleries. She pushed me to step outside my comfort zone, and I found myself growing in ways I never anticipated. I remember one weekend when Leslie came to visit me in San Francisco. We spontaneously decided to take a road trip down the coast to Big Sur. We got a bit lost, our car broke down, and we ended up crashing at this tiny motel that had definitely seen better days. But instead of whining about it, Leslie made it an adventure. We spent the evening on the beach, soaking in the sunset and chatting about our dreams for the future. That trip was when I realized I was falling for her. About a year later, we decided to take the leap and move in together. We picked a city that was halfway between our jobs and found a cute little apartment with a view of the park. The first few months of living together were pure magic. We'd whip up dinner together, trying out new recipes and laughing at our kitchen fails. We'd stay up late binge-watching shows, getting into debates about plot twists and character arcs. Lazy Sunday mornings were all about cuddling in bed and dreaming up our future adventures. But as time passed, I started noticing some red flags. Leslie's possessive and jealous side, which I once thought was sweet, started to feel a bit stifling. At first, it was just small stuff. She'd get upset if I took too long to text back or if I mentioned hanging out with female coworkers. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a phase or a sign of how much she cared. Then there was this one incident about a year ago that should have been a warning sign. I had a female colleague, Emma, who was going through a rough divorce. I offered to listen over lunch as a friend. When I told Leslie about it, she exploded with jealousy, accusing me of having feelings for Emma. It took hours to calm her down and convince her that Emma was just a friend in need. Things really escalated about 6 months ago. I recently started a new project at work that required me to team up closely with a female colleague named Sarah. Every time I brought up Sarah, Leslie seemed to get more and more upset. She would ask all sorts of questions about what we were doing together and hint that Sarah might have some hidden agenda. One night, I came home late after a team dinner celebrating a successful project launch. Leslie was waiting for me, looking really upset. She accused me of cheating with Sarah, even though I tried to explain it was just a work thing. We ended up having a massive fight that night, with Leslie insisting on checking my phone and emails to prove I wasn't lying. I was taken aback by her lack of trust and tried to calmly discuss her jealousy, but instead, she surprised me by suggesting we should get married. She claimed that if we tied the knot, she'd feel more secure and wouldn't worry about other women. Now, I'm in a tough spot. I really care about Leslie. She's smart, funny, and we have so many amazing memories together. But her jealousy and possessiveness are becoming a real problem in our relationship. I'm concerned that if we get married, these issues will just get worse. I've tried to bring it up with her several times, but she either brushes me off or flips it back on me, saying I don't love her enough. Last week, I proposed we go to couples therapy to help with our communication and trust issues. Leslie took it the wrong way, saying that if I truly loved her, we wouldn't need therapy. I feel trapped. On one side, I can envision a future with Leslie. I adore the way her eyes light up when she laughs, how passionate she gets about books, and how she always remembers to call my mom on her birthday. We've even talked about our dreams of traveling the world together and maybe starting a family one day. On the flip side, I'm really not sure I can deal with a lifetime of having to constantly prove my loyalty and tiptoeing around other women. It makes me anxious about what this could mean for my job. Would I have to turn down chances to work with female coworkers? And what about my friendships with women? I don't want to go through life feeling guilty for every harmless chat. I'm also worried about how Leslie's jealousy might impact our future kids if we decide to have any. I wouldn't want them to think that this kind of possessiveness is normal or healthy in a relationship. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just overreacting. Is this level of jealousy typical? Am I being unfair to Leslie by not grasping her insecurities? But then I remember the look of suspicion in her eyes when she insisted on seeing my phone, and it makes my stomach churn. I've thought about ending things, but the thought of losing Leslie is terrifying. Even with our issues, she's been such a big part of my life for ages. Imagining not having her to share my day with, to laugh with, to dream with, it's almost too much to bear. But then I think about what lies ahead. If we're struggling now, how much worse could it get after we tie the knot? What if we have kids and Leslie's jealousy spills over to them? What if I end up feeling distrusted and trapped for the rest of my life? I could really use some outside insight on this. Am I overreacting to Leslie's jealousy? Should I just go ahead and propose, hoping that marriage will fix our issues? Or is it smart to be cautious about committing to someone who doesn't seem to trust me? How do I juggle my love for Leslie with my worries about her behavior? If anyone has been through something similar or has any advice, I'd really appreciate it. I feel like I'm at a crossroads. Edit. Wow, I really didn't see this post getting so much attention. Thanks a ton for all your thoughts and suggestions. I've got a lot on my mind now. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since I last posted, and I want to give a shout out to everyone who shared their advice and personal stories. Your feedback has really made me think, but I'm starting to worry that I've taken too long to decide. Things have taken a serious turn for the worse, and I'm still trying to process everything. Over the past couple of weeks, Leslie has been getting more and more frustrated with my uncertainty about her marriage proposal. We've had some pretty tense talks where she's accused me of not being all in on our relationship. I've tried to explain that I just need a bit more time to figure things out, since marriage is a huge step and I want to make sure we're both on the same page. But Leslie interprets my hesitation as a sign that I don't love her as deeply as she loves me. The vibe in our apartment has been pretty tense, to say the least. Leslie has been switching between giving me the silent treatment and starting arguments over the tiniest things. Just last Tuesday, she lost it on me because I forgot to put my coffee mug in the dishwasher. What should have been a small annoyance turned into a huge fight about how I don't respect her or our space. I felt like I was tiptoeing around, never knowing what might trigger her next. Then last Thursday, I came home from a long day of work, totally wiped out from wrestling with some tricky code. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked to find Leslie on the couch with a guy I didn't recognize. They were sitting way too close for comfort, and I immediately felt uneasy. Leslie introduced him as Amin, a coworker from her office. She said he was coming over to hang out with us for the evening, but something felt off about the whole thing. As the night went on, I noticed Leslie acting differently. She was all over Amin, laughing at everything he said, and it seemed like she was trying really hard to be close to him. She kept touching his arm while talking, and at one point, she even perched on the arm of his chair, leaning toward him. It was so out of character for her that I didn't know how to respond. I tried to jump into the conversation, asking Amin about his job and what he liked to do, but Leslie kept bringing it back to their inside jokes and memories that left me out. I felt like a third wheel in my own place. Then Leslie suggested we play a board game. While she was setting it up, I noticed her leaning in close to Amin, whispering something that made him laugh. That little moment made my stomach twist. As the evening dragged on, I became more and more uneasy. Leslie was acting like someone completely different, flirty, giggly, and way too animated. It felt like I was watching a stranger wearing my girlfriend's face. I kept trying to catch her eye, silently asking what was up, but she completely avoided looking at me. When Amin finally left around 11 p.m., I helped Leslie clean up in silence, my mind racing with questions. After we were done, Leslie turned to me with this look that seemed to expect something. "So," she said, her voice casual but with a hint of tension. "What did you think of Amen?" I struggled to keep my tone even as I said he seemed nice. Leslie pushed me a bit more, asking if I had noticed anything about her vibe with him. I tried to stay chill and said I didn't really feel anything specific, just that it was cool to meet her work buddy. This seemed to tick her off, and her expression turned sour. Without saying another word, she stormed off to bed, leaving me feeling lost and hurt in the living room. I hardly slept that night, my mind replaying every moment, every touch, every laugh shared between Leslie and Amen. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that Leslie was just being friendly with a coworker, but a nagging doubt wouldn't let me shake it off. The next morning, Leslie left for work before I even woke up, which was pretty unusual for her. I tried to get through my day, focusing on work, but I couldn't stop thinking about what happened the night before. Around lunchtime, my phone buzzed with a message from Leslie. My heart sank when I saw it was a video. With trembling hands, I hit play, and everything came crashing down. The video showed Leslie in bed with Amen. The timestamp revealed it was recorded just an hour ago, likely during her lunch break. I felt nauseous. I couldn't believe that Leslie, the woman I had loved for years, would do something so heartless and manipulative. I left work early, unable to focus, and headed home to confront Leslie. When she got back, I was sitting on the couch, the same spot where she had been flirting with Amen the night before. I calmly asked her about the video. To my surprise, she didn't even try to deny it or show any regret. Instead, Leslie launched into a rant about how she wanted me to experience the same pain and jealousy she felt whenever I was around other women. She claimed that by making me jealous, I'd finally understand how much I loved her and would propose. Leslie laid it all out, saying she'd been scheming for weeks, ever since I didn't jump at her marriage proposal. She had intentionally built a friendship with Amen, fully aware he had a crush on her, just to pull off this whole plan. I was left speechless. The Leslie I thought I knew would never stoop to this level. As I sat there trying to wrap my head around her words, she kept defending her choices. She insisted it was all out of love for me, that she couldn't stand the idea of losing me. She wanted me to feel what she felt every time I chatted with a female coworker or friend. That's when I realized our relationship was done. I told Leslie her actions were beyond forgiveness and I was ending things. She flipped out, swinging between blaming me for ruining her life and pleading for me to change my mind. But I held firm. I explained how her constant jealousy and possessiveness had been slowly eating away at our relationship for months. The sex tape was just the tipping point. I told her she had turned into a toxic force in my life and I couldn't see myself marrying someone who would go to such lengths. I made it clear that a healthy relationship thrives on trust and respect, not jealousy and manipulation. Leslie tried to argue that her actions were out of love, but I wasn't buying it. I told her that true love doesn't involve hurting your partner or trying to provoke jealousy. It's about being there for each other and tackling issues together. While I spoke, I started throwing some clothes into a bag. I knew I couldn't stick around in the apartment with her after everything that had gone down. Leslie trailed behind me, swinging from angry accusations to desperate pleas. She told me I was overreacting, insisting it was just a mistake and that we could work things out. But in my heart, I felt like a line had been crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. Before I walked out, I glanced back at Leslie one last time. I told her I hoped she would seek help because this level of jealousy and insecurity wasn't good for her or any future relationships. She yelled at me, claiming I was the one with the issue, saying if I had just committed to her, none of this would have happened. As I shut the door behind me, I heard something crash against the wall. A part of me wanted to turn back and check on her, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. That night, I crashed at a friend's place, my mind spinning from everything that had just gone down. The next few days felt like a blur. I took some time off work and stayed with my friend, trying to make sense of it all. Leslie flooded my phone with calls and texts, swinging from apologies to accusations. Eventually, I had to block her number for my own sanity. Now, I'm in the middle of moving out of our apartment. My friend is helping me pack while Leslie's at work. It's been a rollercoaster of emotions, anger, sadness, relief, and everything in between. I still have feelings for the Leslie I knew back in high school and during the early days of our relationship, but I realize that person is gone, replaced by someone I can't trust or respect anymore. As I sort through our shared stuff, I keep stumbling upon memories like the coffee mug she got me on our first weekend trip and the framed photo from the night we moved in together, both of us smiling at the camera, full of dreams for the future. Each item around me serves as a bittersweet reminder of what we once had and what slipped away. I'm working on shifting my focus to the future and healing from this whole experience. It won't be a walk in the park, but I truly believe I made the right choice. No one should be in a relationship filled with doubt and manipulation. I've started searching for a new apartment where I can hit the reset button. I've also reached out to a therapist to help me sort through everything that's happened. Looking back, I see that I overlooked a lot of red flags in our relationship and I want to figure out why I did that so I can avoid falling into the same traps again. Huge thanks to everyone who shared their advice on my original post. Even though things didn't turn out as I had hoped, your support really helped me gain clarity and gave me the courage to make this tough choice. I know there's a long journey ahead, but for the first time in ages, I feel a sense of hope about what's to come. Update 2. It's been a month since I ended things with Leslie and I wanted to share how I'm doing. First off, a big thank you to everyone who reached out with support and encouragement. Your kindness has been a real bright spot during this tough time. The first few weeks after the breakup were pretty challenging. I moved in with a friend temporarily while I searched for my own place. Packing up our shared apartment was emotionally exhausting. Every item seemed to carry a memory, both good and bad. Leslie tried to reach out several times, swinging between angry messages and tearful apologies, but I've stayed strong in my decision to cut all ties. Lately, I've been putting a lot of energy into self-care and healing. I decided to see a therapist to sort through my feelings about my relationship and the breakup. Having someone neutral to talk to has been super helpful, especially with all the mixed emotions that come from ending a long-term relationship. My therapist has been guiding me in recognizing the emotional manipulation I experienced with Leslie and helping me come up with strategies to set healthier boundaries moving forward. I've also started reconnecting with friends I kind of lost touch with while I was with Leslie. It's been awesome to rebuild those friendships and rediscover who I am outside of a romantic relationship. I even picked up rock climbing with some coworkers. It's a fun way to push myself both physically and mentally, plus the endorphins are a nice bonus. Work has been a good distraction too. I've dived into a new project at work, which has kept me busy and given me a sense of achievement. My colleagues have been really supportive, which means a lot. I've been open with my boss about what's been going on, and he's been really understanding, giving me the flexibility to go to therapy and search for a new place. Of course, it's not all easy. There are still times when I miss Leslie or question if I made the right decision. But then I think about that video she sent and how manipulated I felt, and I realize I did what was best for my own well-being. My therapist is helping me navigate those moments of uncertainty and reminding me how crucial it is to prioritize my mental health. I'm not quite ready to jump back into dating yet, but I'm feeling optimistic about what's ahead. This whole experience has really opened my eyes to what I want and don't want in a relationship. I've realized that trust and respect are absolutely essential for me. Right now, I'm taking some time for myself to explore my interests and passions and to create a life that brings me joy on my own. If you're in a similar boat, just hang in there. Things will improve. Prioritize yourself, surround yourself with positive people, and don't hesitate to reach out for professional help if you feel you need it. You deserve a relationship that's all about trust and respect. Thanks again to everyone for your support during this time. It's been a challenging journey, but I'm excited about what's next. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post stories like this from across the internet.